Yo, what's going on, Eagles Nation? Welcome back to FlyEaglesFly News, where we keep it real, fast, and straight from the heart of Philly. No fluff, no filters. Just that raw energy every Birds fan lives for. And listen, today's story isn't just another game week chat. It's deeper than that. It's about pride, frustration, leadership, and the kind of tension that can either break a locker room or make it legendary. Because right now, there's a lot being said about A.J. Brown, a lot being questioned about Jalen Hurts, and Nick Sirianni looks like he's about done answering the same stuff over and over. Meanwhile, the real battle, it might not even be in the headlines, it's happening in the trenches, with that offensive line that used to be our fortress. But before we start throwing stones at anyone, let's zoom out for a second, because Jalen Hurts, being the leader he is, already tried to cool this fire down when asked about all the noise. He basically said, hey, the more we talk about this, the bigger it gets. And it turns into a distraction, and he's right. Every time another headline drops about A.J. Brown's frustration, or about who said what after the game, the focus slips away from the real mission, because this week, man, it's about the Detroit Lions. This isn't some random team you overlook. This is a squad that's been waiting for this matchup. One that's been climbing their way up and is hungry for payback. You can bet they've had this game circled on their calendar for months. Hurts said it perfectly. We are who we are. We're all we got. And we're all we need. And that kind of mindset is what built this team in the first place. It's that underdog Philly attitude. The one that doesn't care about who's doubting or what's trending on social media. He's locked in on leading this offense the way it needs to be led. And that's what great quarterbacks do. They block out the noise. Now, let's not act like Detroit's some easy win. They might be missing a few guys. Penasul, Aidan Hutchinson dealing with knocks, a couple others not practicing, but this team still has bite. They've got weapons on both sides of the ball. Jared Goff has been in rhythm. Their defense hits hard, and they're coached by a guy who has that old school mentality. This is not a trap game. This is a statement game, because let's be honest, this could be the matchup that decides seeding down the line. We already got T-breakers over Tampa Bay, over Green Bay, over the Rams, but taking down Detroit. That could be the difference between playing at home or hitting the road come January. And yet, instead of everyone talking about the matchup, about how our offense is going to stack up against that Lions front seven, what's dominating the airwaves? A.J. Brown, again. And don't get me wrong, AJ's one of the most passionate guys on this team. He wants to win. You can see it in the way he plays, the way he talks, the way he reacts. But man, every time something happens, whether it's a comment on a stream, a quote out of context, or just a little frustration caught on camera, it turns into a headline storm. The dude literally said he's not apologizing for having a private laugh with a friend. And next thing you know, people are acting like it's a scandal. AJ basically said, look, I said all the right things after the game and it still became a story. So why even bother apologizing for having a normal moment? He was laughing through frustration, trying to cope with it instead of lashing out. That's human, man. That's not a diva move. That's a player trying to deal with the pressure of knowing the offense isn't living up to its potential, because when you strip it all down, that's the real issue. This offense hasn't looked right for weeks, and AJ laid it out clearly. He said it's not just about him or his numbers. It's about the offense as a whole. The defense has been saving games week after week, and that's not sustainable. You can't keep relying on your defense to bail you out while the offense sputters. So when he talks about frustration, it's not selfishness, it's accountability. He's saying what a lot of fans are already thinking. When are we going to see that explosive Eagles offense again? The one that dominates from the first snap, not one that starts slow and plays catch up. Now, people are out there sharing screenshots, saying AJ's open here, AJ's open there. Why isn't the ball coming his way? But AJ shut that down too. He said it himself. It's not always that simple. Quarterbacks go through reads. They process a million things in a split second. They've got pressure in their face. Sometimes it's not about being open on paper. It's about the timing, the protection, the play design, and that's where it gets interesting. Because it brings up another name that keeps floating around, Kevin Patullo. Now, I said in a previous video, it's not about AJ versus Jalen. If those two were really beefing, we'd see it on the field. But what we saw instead, them improvising together, trusting each other, going deep, trying to make things happen even when the play design wasn't perfect, that says a lot. There's still chemistry there, still a bond. The real frustration might be with the play calling. Age didn't come out and say it directly, but you can read between the lines, the routes, the reads. The way he's being used, it's just not fitting his skill set. This dude is a top receiver in the league, and somehow he's being schemed like a role player. That's not on Jalen Hurts. That's on the system, and that's where the pressure shifts to the coaching staff. Nick Sirianni has always backed his players. But you could see it this week. He's getting tired of the same questions. He straight up told reporters, "I'm close to being done answering these." That's coach speak for enough already. He knows AJ's working hard. He knows AJ's still locked in, but all this outside noise keeps creeping in, and it's wearing on everyone. And honestly, I get it. This team is too talented to be dealing with soap opera stuff. You've got Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon Barkley. That's a dream lineup. You've got veterans, champions, guys who've been to the mountaintop. This isn't the time to be experimenting with an untested offensive coordinator, figuring things out mid-season like it's preseason. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie took a huge gamble handing the keys of this offense to someone who hasn't proven they can handle it at this level. It's like giving a teenager a Ferrari and saying, "Good luck out there." You don't do that when you're in your Super Bowl window. Because that's what this is, a Super Bowl caliber roster. But right now, the coordination, the rhythm, the identity, it's off. AJ's not being schemed open. The timing is off between reads. And the offensive line isn't holding like it used to. That line that once looked unstoppable. It's banged up. Jordan Mailata's been hanging in there. But Lane Johnson's hurting. Landon Dickerson's hurting. Cam Jurgens is hurting. Basically everyone's dealing with something. And when your front five are all bruised up, that changes everything. Hurts doesn't have the same time to scan, to make those deep reads. The ball's coming out quicker. Sometimes too quick, and that's why we're seeing frustration on both ends. So yeah, the AJ Brown stuff gets all the headlines, but the real problem is deeper. It's the injuries, it's the system, it's the lack of rhythm. You can't expect Jalen Hurts to look like the MVP version of himself if he's constantly under pressure. You can't expect AJ to put up monster numbers if the play calling doesn't even prioritize him as a first read half the time. It's all connected. Still, one thing I respect about AJ, he took up for his quarterback. He made it clear that it's not about throwing Jalen under the bus. He said it's about accountability across the board. That's what leaders do. They don't just complain, they challenge the team to be better. And that's what makes me think there's still hope this offense finds its rhythm again. They've been through worse, and if they can get that O-line healthy and tighten up that play calling, this thing can turn around quick. Now let's talk about what's really boiling underneath all of this. The heart of the issue, the one thing nobody seems to want to admit out loud. The offensive line is breaking down, and it's dragging everything else with it. You can have the best receivers in the world, the fastest running backs, and a quarterback built like steel. But if the guys up front aren't doing their job, the whole operation collapses. And that's exactly what's been happening in Philly. The line that used to be a wall has turned into a patchwork mess of injuries and inconsistency. Look at the names on that injury report. Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen. All limited or banged up. The only one who's been holding it down all season is Jordan Mailata. And even he's been carrying a heavy load. These are guys who've been through wars, through a Super Bowl run, and that mileage adds up. You can see it in the tape. Less push off the snap, slower recovery when stunts hit, more pressure collapsing from the inside, and when that pocket breaks early. Jalen Hurts doesn't get the luxury of working through progressions. He's got maybe the seconds to process, decide, and move, and when that's the case, all those pretty screenshots people love to share online. Look, AJ's open right here. They don't mean anything, because football isn't a still photo, it's chaos in motion. Hurts is playing behind a line that's giving him fragments of time. And the crazy thing is he's still producing, still keeping drives alive, still leading, but it's not sustainable. You can't expect a quarterback to be Superman every single snap. And that's why AJ's frustration makes sense. He's not mad that he's not getting the ball. He's mad that this offense isn't functioning the way it was built to. It's supposed to be balanced, explosive, unpredictable. Instead, it feels like it's grinding gears every drive, trying to figure itself out, and that brings us back to the coaching. Because when your offensive line is hurting, that's when the play calling has to adapt. You need quick reads, creative routes, Screen plays, misdirection, anything to get the ball out fast and keep the defense guessing, but that's not what's happening too often. It feels like the offense is forcing plays that don't fit the current personnel, asking Hurts to stand in collapsing pockets waiting for long developing routes. That's not strategy. That's stubbornness. Now I'm not saying Nick Sirianni doesn't know what he's doing. The man took this team to a Super Bowl. But part of being a great coach is knowing when to adjust, when to put pride aside and admit something's not working. And if that means stepping in and helping the offensive coordinator find better ways to use A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley, then do it, because right now, it feels like the scheme is leaving too many weapons on the shelf. You've got A.J. Brown, one of the most physical receivers in the league, who can turn a 5-yard slant into a 40-yard gain. And yet somehow he's going through whole stretches of games barely getting looks. You've got Saquon Barkley, a dual threat who can wreck defenses. And he's not being used creatively enough. It's like the offense has forgotten how to play to its own strengths. And listen, this isn't a rebuild year. This is a team still in its championship window. Every season you waste figuring things out is a season closer to that window closing. Howie Roseman and the front office built this roster to win now. Veterans like Jason Kelce didn't come back just to see what works. They came back because they believe there's another ring out there, but that dream slips away fast if the play calling keeps spinning its wheels. That's why AJ's voice matters. Yeah, he's fiery, emotional, sometimes a little too open for the media's liking. But he's speaking from a place of wanting to win when he says, we can't just slap a band-aid over the defense saving us every week. He's right. Championship teams fix their issues before they snowball, because once you hit December and January, it's too late. You can't just flip a switch and suddenly find your rhythm again. The timing, the chemistry, the confidence, that stuff has to be built week by week, and I think deep down, Jalen Hurts knows that, too. You can see it in the way he's talking, the way he's staying composed. He's not throwing anyone under the bus. Not even hinting at frustration, but you can see it in his eyes. He wants more from this offense. He's not satisfied with winning ugly. He wants dominance. He wants the kind of offense that dictates games, not just survives them. And when you have that mentality in your quarterback and that fire in your top receiver, the coaches have to match that energy. Now, let's not pretend it's all doom and gloom. There are still flashes of brilliance when the protection holds and the timing's there. This offense looks unstoppable. You see Hurts throwing darts across the middle, AJ breaking tackles, Devonta Smith making ridiculous sideline grabs, Dallas Goedert finding seams in the zone. That's the team everyone knows they can be. But the consistency just isn't there. One drive looks like a clinic, the next looks like confusion. And that's what needs fixing. FlyEaglesFly News Family Smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. The NFL rumor mill is spinning once again, and this time it's centered around one of the league's most reliable wideouts. Multiple sources close to the situation are whispering that Tyler Boyd has made his choice, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles. While no official announcement has surfaced, insiders claim the paperwork is already on the table, awaiting only signatures to make it official. Boyd, known for his steady hands and clutch route running, has been a free agent draw for several franchises this offseason. Yet, according to reports echoing through league circles, the veteran receiver was particularly drawn to the Eagles' dynamic offense and their aggressive push to reload the receiving corps. He sees an opportunity to shine in that system, said one anonymous source familiar with the negotiations. It's not just about the money. It's about fit. And the Eagles' vision really appealed to him. Philadelphia's front office has been quietly maneuvering for weeks, looking for a seasoned slot receiver who can bring both experience and leadership to a locker room brimming with young talent. Boyd fits that bill perfectly. His potential pairing with the team's star wideouts has fans and analysts buzzing, a combination that could give opposing defenses yet another headache to plan for, of course. As with any major signing rumor, nothing is done until the ink dries. League insiders caution that while agreement in principle has been mentioned, there are still details to iron out, bonuses, incentives, and structure, but the tone in the background is confident, almost expectant. This is happening, one insider told a local reporter, unless something truly unexpected occurs. Boyd will be wearing green next season. For now, the Eagles' organization remains tight-lipped, neither confirming nor denying the speculation. Boyd's camp has also gone silent, which, in NFL terms, usually speaks volumes as fans refresh their feeds and analysts dissect every hint. The buzz grows louder by the hour if this rumor proves true. The Eagles may have just pulled off one of the quietest yet smartest moves of the offseason, and the rest of the league has officially been put on notice. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.